Okay, this unit isn't going to have, Unit 3 will not have that many notes in it. We're going to look at enzymes, and we're going to look at cell respiration, and we're going to look at photosynthesis. And that is, Unit 3 is on energetics. So it's basically about energy and about how energy moves through the ecosystem, how it moves through us when we eat, how it moves through plants when they take in sunlight, and we'll kind of put all of that together. The living cell is a miniature chemical factory. It has lots and lots of reactions that are going on all of the time. That's why we did chemistry in the first unit. Those chemical reactions are going to do one of two things. They're either going to take in energy or they're going to release energy. And that energy is then going to be used to do what the organism needs. So it'll be used to breathe. It'll be used to move the limbs. It will be used to think. All those things will be used for energy. Metabolism is a word we use when we're talking about energy. And that is, metabolism is the total sum of all of the chemical reactions going on in the body. So anything that is giving off energy or anything that is taking in energy, all of those reactions are metabolism. So we've talked about metabolism, or you have talked about metabolism, I'm sure, with friends and family, and people said, I have a fast metabolism, I have a slow metabolism, and that's basically how that's part of it. That has to do with how fast you are digesting your food and using that energy that food is producing. But metabolism is a little bit more than that. It's both metabolizing or giving off that energy as well as taking it in. So it's a couple of those things together. When we are in this unit, we're going to talk about metabolic pathways, which is basically a series of chemical reactions that occur to get a specific outcome. So when we talk about cell respiration in a little bit, we will be talking about starting off with your food and ending up with energy. And going from the food that you eat to the energy that's released is a pretty long process. There's lots of chemical reactions that occur in that happening, and that is the metabolic pathway. Each one of those chemical reactions is going to be made faster by a specific enzyme. So we're going to talk a lot in this unit about enzymes. And let me just see if the next picture shows me what I hope it will do. Maybe not. Enzymes are going to be, you know what an enzyme is? What macromolecule it is? It's a protein. Yeah. Enzymes are proteins, usually. They can also be other macromolecules, but like 98, 99% of the time, an enzyme is going to be synonymous with protein. Okay, so an enzyme is a protein. And they speed up chemical reactions. They make them happen at lightning speed, very, very quickly, much faster than they would occur on their own. This next picture is showing how I have a very simple metabolic pathway, and it's just generic. I'm starting off with this chemical A, and I need to make that chemical into this product D. But I don't just go from A to D. I have some intermediate steps that have to occur. And each time I do that, I'm going to use a different enzyme to catalyze that reaction so that I can eventually get to that final product that I want. But it's not, it's not instantaneous because there are these steps that you have to go through. When we talk about chemical reactions, we're going to talk about there's really only two reactions. You have catabolic reactions, or catabolic pathways in this case, and you have anabolic. Let's look at just anabolic first. Anabolic, what does that word bring to mind? Anything you can think of? Steroids, yeah, exactly. So anabolic steroids, their job is to bulk you up, right? Anabolic pathways are those that are taking in energy and they're making bigger molecules from smaller or more simple molecules. So they're building up molecules. And the others are just the opposite. The catabolic pathways are going to be ones that are going to break down a molecule that's pretty complex into something simpler. So you can have a catabolic reaction. Catabolic reaction is going to release energy. That's kind of the key there. It releases energy. And anabolic are going to take in or consume energy. So you could have a catabolic reaction. You can also have a series of reactions that overall are catabolic in that overall, again, the net outcome is there's a release of energy. Okay. And I say that just because as we go forward, we're going to see that sometimes in these catabolic or anabolic reactions, there might be some reactions in there that don't do exactly the releasing energy part. And it's like, well, why not? It's like, well, we're just looking overall what the effect is. So overall, a catabolic pathway is going to release. And overall, an anabolic set of reactions or a pathway is going to consume. Okay. In this unit, we're going to talk about catabolic pathways that include this guy. We'll have an entire chapter on cell respiration. Cell respiration is not just breathing. Breathing is a very important part of it, but it's also tied to the breakdown of your food. And as you break down your food, you're releasing energy, which is why it's catabolic. We use that respiration in there because we know everybody's got to breathe. They have to use oxygen. And in order for cell respiration to happen in humans, the way it normally happens in humans, we have to have oxygen present. Which is why, you run really, really fast. Eventually, you're going to have to slow down because you're running out of oxygen. And if you're running out of oxygen, your body can no longer perform cell respiration and it can no longer produce energy that you need to run. So you've got to reduce your speed. Bioenergetics is just the study of those pathways, how energy moves through a system, moves through organisms, moves through us, moves through plants. Not what I wanted. There we go. Okay, energy comes in a lot of flavors. Energy is defined as the capacity to do work or to cause change. And there's lots of different forms of energy. We're not going to be too concerned about all of these. There's kinetic, which is associated with movement, right? A baseball hits you in the face, that hurts. That's energy. That's associated with movement. Thermal, obviously, are going to be that energy that's associated with, you go to touch a hot plate and it's, oh yeah, that's hot, right? And that is actually, it's a form of kinetic energy, but again, we're not worried too much about that. We are worried about, however, kind of a subtype of thermal energy, which is heat, because we're going to see that heat gets transferred from objects. Heat dissipates over time. And so, if you've got a fire, say you've got a fire in a fireplace, you get embers, and then eventually that heat is going to dissipate. It's going to go away. And in order to keep that fire burning, you have to stoke the fire. You have to put more wood into that fire. And the same thing goes in a way for us, because if we don't have an input of energy all the time, we would be cold, and eventually all of our chemical reactions would cease because we don't have that heat. For all of these pathways to happen, you're going to need heat. You're going to need warmth. Okay, and just think about it. If you go outside and it's really cold, you start to not move so well, and eventually your brain doesn't start to move so well, and you get hypothermia, and you could end up dying from that. So you need that heat. Another type of energy is potential energy. And potential energy is energy that could do work, but right now is just being stored. So it has literally the potential to do some kind of work, but right now it's not doing anything. A candy bar could be thought of as potential energy. There's calories stored in that bar, and when we eat it, then we start changing it into a different form of energy, which is also chemical energy. Okay, so chemical energy is the energy that you get from a chemical reaction. So if I have my Snickers bar and it's sitting out on the counter, it's just potential energy, but now I eat it, and all of those peanuts that are made up of proteins and all those nougats that are made of carbohydrates and all those other bits that are made of fats, now they're going to be broken apart in chemical reactions. Okay, and that's our hydrolysis. So we're hydrolyzing our Snickers bar, breaking it apart with water to release the energy from it. We can change our energy from one form to another. So we can change it from chemical energy of a Snickers bar into the chemical energy that our body can actually use. And that energy that our body can actually use is called this guy, ATP. It stands for adenosine triphosphate. Yeah, Owen.
Is body fat potential energy?
Yes, it is. So when you eat more than you can use in a setting, your body will turn it to fat, and it will store it there, because our body is really good at maintaining or holding on to calories. And so what will happen is it will store it as fat, and then in the case of now all of a sudden there's no food around, the body will take that fat back out of storage and it will break it down. Yeah, very much so. Okay, thermodynamics, which is X'd out. I know, I went ahead and copied it anyway, but we don't actually have to talk about thermodynamics anymore, which I'm kind of glad for. Which means we can continue on and talk a little bit about free energy. So biologists want to know which reactions will occur spontaneously, so they'll happen on their own, and which ones will require energy. And to do so, they need to determine the energy as well as the entropy changes in a chemical reaction. And hold on, I just want to see. And we're talking that was, I'm sure my next thing was, what's an entropy? Entropy is every time you take energy and you change it to a different form, some of it is lost. If it was a perfect system, you would never have to fill your car with gas. Right? You'd fill that car with gas and you'd be able to recycle that gas and use it over and over and over again. But we don't. Right? It's used up in the reaction. That energy becomes a different energy. Right? Your car gets hot, your engine gets hot. There's combustion. Some of the energy goes out through the exhaust. So like the carbon dioxide molecules, they have energy in them. We lose that. We lose it through heat. And that's entropy. We have to go back to the pump and we have to fill our car with gas again. We have to eat again. Because again, if we ate once and everything, all those molecules were perfectly, all that energy was perfectly saved, we would never have to eat again. We would only have to eat once, which would be kind of a bummer, I think. Right? I mean, eating is fun. I like eating. But we wouldn't have to. Okay? Entropy is when you change energy from one form to another, you lose some of that energy to a form of energy that is no longer useful. And for us, that form is often going to be heat, right? Which is also good because it heats our body. It keeps us warm. Early dismissal, right? I want to make sure I don't go too far because I want to make sure you have time to look at your test. All right. So free energy is also called the change in delta G, or delta G, change in G. And living systems free energy is the energy that can do work when temperature and pressure are uniform, as in a living cell. There's going to be some free energy released when you eat. So when you eat a meal, a lot of the chemical reactions that occur will release energy, which can be used to drive the other chemical reactions in your body that require energy. Okay, so that free energy is the energy that you can use to do work in your body. A lot of that is going to be lost, again, through entropy, because we're going to have things like waste. If you're eating a lot of things that have fiber in them, fiber is very good for you. However, energy-wise, it doesn't give you anything. It's not going to give you any ACP. It's not going to give you any energy. It will, as it passes through your digestive tract, take out with it, will take out fat molecules, cholesterol, and help your body digest and move things through that shouldn't really belong in the body. Let me see. So a lot of this, we used to have, we used to need to do these reactions, and they've eliminated it from the curriculum. I only leave it here because the AP curriculum is definitely not a static thing. It changes all the time. And part of me wonders when it's going to come back, because some things have come back in the past. So I leave it in there just in case. But right now we don't have to worry any more about free energy than what I just showed you. Free energy applies to chemistry of life's processes. So when we talk about reactions, we talk about catabolic and we talk about anabolic. We can also talk about them in other ways as well. We can talk about them as exergonic and endergonic. Exergonic, what do you suppose that means? What do you suppose is happening to energy in an exergonic reaction? Boom, it's leaving, it's exiting the building, right? It's going away. Come on, there we go. So meaning that it exits, meaning the energy is leaving. So there is a release of free energy. We also call these spontaneous reactions because they will happen on their own. There is no catalyst or enzyme needed in an exergonic reaction. Okay, so these guys, energy exits. And then we have endergonic reactions. Ender to enter, or to bring in. So we're bringing in energy. We're absorbing free energy, just like you would do in a anabolic reaction. So they're really synonymous. Anabolic is synonymous with ender, and exergonic is synonymous with catabolic. So you could also say here, let me write that. Catabolic. And here enters anabolic. Whoa. Not sure what happened there. Anabolic. Okay. So absorbs, and it is not spontaneous. It is non-spontaneous. In other words, it won't happen on its own unless you jumpstart it, unless you do something to get it going. Okay. Back to my Snickers bar. I put my Snickers bar on my desk and I leave it there for the next 10 years. Will it stay a Snickers bar? That's a great question. Probably will. Maybe I shouldn't use Snickers bar. Piece of white bread. Put a piece of white bread there. What will happen to it in 10 years? Ew. It's going to be gross, right? It's going to get mold on it. It's going to disintegrate, right? That's a spontaneous reaction. Okay. It will eventually degrade and it will release energy. There will be some heat loss there. Those molecules will dissipate and that energy will be released. So it's spontaneous. But is it fast? No. I mean, especially if I've got a piece of bread that's got a lot of preservatives and stuff in there. I mean, it could be a month. I should bring in a piece of bread. That may be kind of fun. It'd probably gross y'all out though. It would happen, but it would take a long time to happen. And again, the Snickers bar even longer, right? Because it's a Snickers bar. So it's not going to happen instantaneously. And that's important because that's going to be where our friend the enzyme comes in. Okay, so enzymes are going to make these reactions happen very quickly, taking it from a month to digesting or to breaking apart if it's sitting on the table to breaking down, in a few minutes if it's in your stomach.
So exergonic is like it always takes a long time?
No, exergonic could be instantaneous as well, but it's going to have an enzyme to do that. It's still going to be spontaneous. It's always going to break down on its own, but you have to have that enzyme to make it fast. This picture shows you the difference in energy change between a exergonic reaction and an endergonic reaction. You start off with the reactants have quite a bit of energy here, and they end up going to a lower state of less energy because now what we've done is we've released energy. Okay. If you think of the combustion of gasoline as an exergonic reaction, it's going to cause us to have smaller molecules that have less energy in them. All the emissions that come off of a gas car, for example, are going to release carbon dioxide, probably carbon monoxide, and other things as well. Maybe, I don't know if there's methane and in the exhaust, but all those things are smaller molecules because a lot of that energy is dissipated as heat. So that heat is given off, and you end up with these smaller molecules that are our exhaust that have less energy in them. Opposite for an endergonic reaction. Endergonic is you start with it's pretty low, and you put energy in, and now it goes from small to large. But I need to put energy in to do that. If you want to build up your muscles, it's going to take energy to do that, right? You have to do some work. I was at the gym last night. I'm still sore. Probably will be for another day, because in order to build my muscles up, I've got to put energy in. I've got to do that work, and I've also got to, put in the building blocks too. So, eating the right kind of foods as well. But I definitely have to put energy in. Okay? Put that energy in, and I get bigger muscles in the end. Okay. All right, let's see where I'm at here. I think I'm going to stop there.